So you're starting a medical billing business so that you can make a better life for yourself, not to let that business take over your life. After-hour calls, duties outside of your scope, and clients just asking you for more and more and more is not what I think that you want for your new medical billing business. Today is day 14 of our series, From Medical Biller to Billing Business Owner, Balancing Work and Entrepreneurship. And I'll break down some practical strategies to help you keep focused on what really matters in your medical billing business without getting lost in extra demands, and most importantly, keeping your peace of mind. So what is scope creep and why does it happen? So scope creep is when tasks and responsibilities that you have agreed upon with your client has all of a sudden expanded to much more than that. So let me give you an example. If a client says, let me ask you a few questions that probably has nothing to do with your billing duties that you agreed upon or even billing in general, they start to demand more and more of your time without you even realizing it. This tends to happen when we want to be nice and we don't want to lose our client. So we tend to just answer questions that don't have anything to do with our job responsibilities, or we, quickly say, well, this would be a quick thing to do. Let me just do it for them this one time. And then the one time turn into 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 times, and they expect you to do it ongoingly when it wasn't in your contract to begin with. So let me go over a few strategies that you can use when it comes to scope creep. And the first one is setting clear boundaries. So you don't think about things that they may ask about, so you don't put it in your contract. But being clear in your contract, which I hope you have in writing with your client, on things that you will and will not do as far as services, communication, and lots of other things, will lessen the chance of scope creep. Now, of course, you're not going to get it right on the first try. When it comes to your contract, whether you're doing it or having a lawyer or an attorney or someone doing it, which I would recommend that you have, there are going to be some things that you miss. But what I would suggest is to make sure that when you think about stuff, you make addendums and you add them to the old client and to new clients that you get. Then you want to recognize scope creep early. Like I said, scope creep can happen without you even realizing it. So you want to catch it at the beginning if you can do that. Don't wait until you have been doing a service, doing something for the provider for months and months, and then all of a sudden you say, that's not a part of our agreement. So for example, if a provider's contract stated that you would start doing the billing from a certain point, January 1st of 2024 forward, and you will not deal with anything before that, but you start to notice that maybe some payments are coming in for services before that, or there are issues with a particular patient's account, and that account includes things from before that time, and you notice that the provider is asking you questions about that, wanting you to deal with that, then I would suggest that you come back to the provider and say, well, our service agreement is for services from January 1st forward, and this patient's issue is for services before that. Do you want me to deal with that? They might say yes, and then you let them know, okay, well, that's going to be an additional charge because we agreed upon this amount, and this is the amount for these services, but if you want me to do anything, which I can do it, but it will be an additional fee. So you let them know that and you catch it quickly. Don't just do it maybe for one patient and then they are expecting you to do it for 2 and 3 and 4, and you get the picture. There are also some times that you start to do non-billing tasks. So again, if you agree on services that you'll do claim submission, you'll do AR, you'll do patient statements, all of those things. But you might have a provider who says, oh, well, can you put this payment in my QuickBooks? Or can you, I'll give you the code and you can add this additional such and such, or make an invoice for the patient, but through QuickBooks or something like that. But this may have nothing to do with your billing services. This may have something to do with, let's say, bookkeeping. I have noticed that a lot of billers do bookkeeping, which in a way I think is kind of similar, both professions. But bookkeeping is completely different from medical billing. For some reason, I noticed that a lot of providers tend to kind of put the two together and expect that certain billers do some of the bookkeeping tasks. Again, if that is not a part of your agreement, you need to let them know, and you need to catch it quick so that they don't expect you to continuously do it over and over again without being compensated. Then there's sticking to your boundaries. And we all need to learn how to have healthy boundaries in all types of relationships, but especially in our professional business relationships. So there is a way to say no professionally. You don't have to be rude about it. You don't have to make them feel any way. You can say something like, I'd love to help you, but unfortunately it is not within our agreement presently. However, if you'd like me to include it, we can include it at this certain cost, this certain fee, or however you want to say it. So you don't have to just flat out be like, no, I'm not doing this. Because again, you don't want to be rude. You especially need to know your capabilities, because sometimes you just cannot handle what they're asking you to do. Especially with you working full time and having your medical billing business, you just might not have the capacity, the capability of doing it. And you should be able to tell them that. Professionally tell them that, but let them know, unfortunately, I am not able to do that at this present time. And even if you have suggestions for how they can get it done, because I know that I don't really like to say, well, no, I just can't do it. Let's say, for example, if they asked me to do eligibility, like I told you guys, I don't do eligibility. And they start to slip that in there even after I told them, well, I don't do eligibility. That is something that your practice has to do. I would let them know, give them some options, well, you can hire somebody to do eligibility, or you can do it this way with this company, or I can help them out in that way. But if I am not capable of doing it, I just need to let them know professionally that I just can't do it. Then also, if it's a service that they want you to do, you're capable of doing, but they just don't want to pay that extra money for, I would let them see why it is a benefit for them to pay for that extra service. Now, I know if you have billed before and you know how providers are, where some of them just don't like to pay. Let's be honest, they just don't like to pay. But you know that they need the particular service and it would be beneficial to them. However, you do not want to do it and not be compensated for doing the services. So you have to show them that if you do this, for example, again, eligibility. If you do eligibility, it would keep you from having all of these errors. It will help you have clean claims to send out so that you don't have to put a delay on your payments. You let them know how it's going to affect them, how it's going to affect their money, because providers speak in money, and you want them to make sure that they know that this could affect their money. So if it's something that you can do, but they don't want to pay for it, you don't just have to do it without being compensated. You can try to explain to them why they need it and why it would be beneficial to them. So now you see how managing boundaries and avoiding scope creep is not just about saying no to the provider and not doing it, but it's about having intention and professionalism. And in my next video, I'm going to be discussing how to manage your full-time job and your medical billing business like a pro. So I'll see you over there.